said several times in our conversation already about the fact that you're an honorable man. Perhaps the perception is a little different. Do you think there is a deficit in perception and reality because of the fact that you're in the real estate business, a business that's known for its sort of backroom deals, crony capitalism, so on and so forth? Do you believe that honor, or the kind of honor that you look for, has eluded you because of the fact that you happen to be in the real estate business?
Well, I'm in a business that's not known as being the nicest business in the world, but I think that, you know, like, people will ask me, what's the thing about you that's least known? Number one, I happen to be a nice person. I happen to be very generous with people that need help. I do. I like that. I love helping people. And also, I'm very honorable. Like I told you the story in The Apprentice. Had I been less than honorable, based on the information I was getting, I should have never done that show, because my agent is saying, are you crazy? You're going to embarrass yourself. It's going to be very bad for your brand. It's going to be bad for your name, meaning your brand. But I said I have to do it because I shook hands. I didn't want to do it after that, by the way, but I had to do it because I shook hands. No, I think I'm a very honorable person. I'll tell you, politically, that may be a huge disadvantage for me, because I say what I want and I say what's true. And I think that's why I register so well in polls whenever they put me in polls, because I do say the truth and I do say what I want. Now, I'm a smart guy. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I don't have to say those things. But I am an honorable person. I'm an honest person, so I say what is appropriate to say. In other words, I'm not a good liar. And a politician probably has to be a good liar, because you see some of these guys on television, I mean, you know they're lying through their teeth. And you say, how do they get away with it? But they get away with it, and that's why they're politicians.
This need to provoke and this need to sort of get people to sit up and, you know, gasp and react to everything that you're saying. You'd like to be at the center of attention, don't you?
I don't think so. I don't think I need. Somebody else said that the other day, that you love provoking people, and I'm not sure that that's true. I don't think
tweets
that's
on the
true.
Ebola virus. What was that about?
I don't think it's true at all. You're fired. Okay, I'm only kidding. I don't think I do that intentionally. I think things I say are somewhat controversial, but they're always true. I mean, always true. They're generally true, or at least I believe them to be true. And some people may think that's provocative. But people think I enjoy provoking people or needling people. It's not that I do, but I'm, again, a very honest person. I say what, and that does provoke certain people.
So there is a debate on, and you know, we saw this happen post the 2009 financial crisis, on a new form of capitalism. And you've seen the backlash in the US, the anger against the 1% club and so on and so forth. Where do you stand on what we need to change about the way we do business? And how do you bridge the deficit between, you know, the guys on the Forbes rich list and the guys who don't make it to the 1% club?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's a fair question. You have it really big league in India. You look at it and you look at, you know, the different worlds that you have right here in Mumbai and different places. But the fact is that one of the things that you have to do, as an example in the United States, is create more jobs. We need more jobs. When they give you a phony 6.1 or 6.3% of unemployment, that's a ridiculous number, because many of those people that are not working, you know, if you quit working, they have a statistic in the United States. If you're looking for a job and you stop looking because you can't find one, they take you off the unemployment like you're employed. They put you down like you're employed. So it shows the real number is probably 21%. And that's bedlam. I will say the main thing that we need badly in the United States are good jobs. Our manufacturing is being taken away from us by other countries, including China, including Mexico, believe it or not. I mean, we have tremendous power over Mexico if we wanted to use it, but we don't use it because we're not intelligently led. But if you take China and if you take some of these countries, you look at what we've done. You go to China and you look at their airports and you look at their roadways and you look at things that they're building, unthinkable. Then you go to LaGuardia Airport. It's like a third world country. It's a disgrace. Honestly, it's a disgrace. And we're the ones that made it possible. So I say that, and it provokes some people, and some people love what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is the truth. And by the way, in Business Week magazine, they did a story. I think it was Business Week. They did a story not so long ago. What do the Chinese most want? And one of the top 10 things was anything Trump. And in my building, in one of my buildings in Manhattan, Trump Tower, I have the largest bank in the world from China, industrial bank from China. They're a tenant. They would never leave. They love me. And I get along great with the Chinese. What I say is that their leaders are much smarter than our leaders, and therefore they're making so-called better deals. They're making tremendous deals at our expense. And the United States has to turn that around. What we need in the United States are jobs. And we don't have the leadership to create those
So you
jobs.
talked about manufacturing jobs being taken away from China. Where do you stand on the immigration bill? Because the fear is, for Indian companies, a lot of these young entrepreneurs here in this room, that in its present form, if it does go through, it looks highly unlikely that it will. But if it does go through, it's actually going to shut the window as far as Indian tech companies are concerned. Where do you stand on that?
Well, look, I think if you're a country, you have to have borders. Okay, just like today, when I came in, I told you, they really did a very thorough search. Every one of my people that were on the plane, boom, boom, boom. There was no games. There was no like, oh, come on through, come on through. There was serious. These people were serious about making sure everything was perfect. I respected that. I told my people, I respect what they're doing. I think it's great. You have to have a border. If you have a country, you have to have a border. So if somebody wants to come in through the legal channels, that's fine. But you can't just walk across and say, okay, good, everybody's a citizen. It just doesn't
but this
work.
is not. This is about access to brain power. This is about free flow of human capital from one economy to another economy. So do you believe that that should be okay, or that's not okay
I'll give you
either?
an example. You go to Harvard, you go to Wharton. You're number one in your class. You come from India. You come from China. You come from anywhere. You go to Harvard. You go to Wharton, number one in the class, you graduate, they throw you out of the country. You go back to China, and you beat the brains out of the people in the United States. And you want to stay. You want to stay in the United States, but you can't. Now, you tell me why. In that case, I'm all for staying. You know, when you have education, when you're educated in our country, and you're a wonderful student, I think those people should be allowed to stay. They should make some kind of... Now, some of the people that we're getting in the United States are people you don't want. We're getting criminals. We're getting people from jails. They're releasing them. We're like a dumping ground. They're releasing them into the United States, into the southern borders, all over the place. And that's got to be stopped. And it's got to be stopped immediately. And you have to take those people and get them out. And you have to be tough. And we're not tough about it. And I don't know, is it that we're not tough, or are they just incompetent? Because I have a feeling there's a lot of incompetence beyond toughness. I don't even think it's toughness. I think they're incompetent.
You know, you talked about everything, the best-selling book, the best-selling show, and so on and so forth. You don't like talking about your failures because you've seen some tough times in your life. You don't like talking about that, or do you believe that it's best not to focus on the bad times? Or what have been your learnings from the tough times that you've gone through?
Yeah, well, look, again, I've had friends that went
It's not good for the Trump brand to talk about
I mean, I told you, I've had friends that went bankrupt, and they've never been able to come back. You know, they've never been able to, and I never went bankrupt. But I will tell you, I've had tough times like everybody. I don't consider them tough times. I consider it a learning experience. You know, I learned a lot in the early 90s when everyone was going down the tubes. The real estate markets had totally collapsed. You couldn't get 10 cents from the banks. The banks were all going bad, as you remember. You probably don't remember, but it's a long time ago. But early 90s. And I came up with an expression, survive till 95. And that was a great expression. It was covered all over the place, survive till 95. I get a lot of credit for that crazy line, but it's true. If you could survive till 95, and I was able to more than survive and did some deals during that period, and then all of a sudden in 95, the market started turning and a lot of things happened. And, you know, again, you have a company that's much, many times bigger than it was in the 80s when I was doing so well. So, I don't know, you have to learn, and it is important for the room because it's such a great room, and I look at all these young, smart, fresh faces, and some older faces, which is fine too. But I look at all of these faces, and I think, you know, experience is just a wonderful thing. Learning from experience is a wonderful thing. If you can learn from other people's experience, that's even better, though. If you see other people making mistakes, learn from it. You don't have to make those mistakes yourself. But experience and learning from experience. So when I went through tough times, I learned a lot. First of all, I learned a lot about myself. I learned I could take it because I had friends that went through tough times, and some committed suicide. Some just went into a shell. Some went home and said, Mama, don't let me out in the real world again. You know, I had friends that just totally disintegrated. And I had others that were able to handle it. And then I had a couple, but I had a couple that thrived under those conditions. So what you do is you learn about yourself a lot. So when you go through tough periods, you want to get through it, you want to get done. But think about it as a learning experience.
So what would you like this room full of entrepreneurs to learn from your mistakes, the mistakes that you've made?
Well, I say this. When I was riding very high in the 80s, because I was a big darling of the 80s, there was an article in one of the major business magazines, everything he touches turns to gold. And I believed it. And I still sort of do. I mean, you know, but I believed it. But I was very young. And I did lose focus. I believe, because I always made money in down markets. I've always done the best in down markets. I did better in down markets than up markets, you know, taking advantage.
So now this is not a good time for you then?
No, I love it. I bought Doral. I just bought Turnberry in Scotland, which is one of the great places of the world. I'm buying a lot of stuff. No, I've always done well in bad times, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but the market's looking up now.
Well, it depends. I mean, certain things are looking up and certain things are really looking down. It's a great time. I think it's still a great time to buy certain assets, but it's getting harder. I will say this. I've been buying, as you know, over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It's getting harder to buy those assets. But you really have to learn about yourself. You know, one of the things, and I've added it, I get paid all this money. For you, I'm getting nothing, by the way, but I'm doing this from my friends, okay, from my partners.
The love.
They're doing this live. I'm doing live television.
Young Indian entrepreneurs.
But I will say this. I get paid a lot of money to make speeches, and I give the money to charities, and I'm happy about it and all this. But one of the words I've added over the last couple of years was pressure. A lot of people, most people, do not have the ability to handle pressure. It's like a golfer. He stays a good golfer, but under pressure, he can't sink a 3-foot putt. He can't even take the putter back, okay? A lot of people don't have the ability to handle pressure. And I say you have to learn that about yourself, because I really believe that to a large extent is an innate ability.
Yeah.
You have to learn that about yourself, because if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be very successful, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have tremendous successes, but you're going to have all sorts of things. You have to have the ability to handle pressure. And if you don't, you should get a great job and enjoy your life. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I've added the word pressure, you know, the list of all the different things, what makes you successful,
Sure.
and, you know, momentum. There's lots of different words, and there are lots of great words. But a word pressure is turning out to be more of an important word, and more people are responding to it, because a lot of people that I watch have no ability to handle pressure when times are bad. And I could give you so many examples, and they fail. So you have to learn that about yourself. Do you have the ability to handle pressure? Are you able to sleep at night and get up the next morning and go out and just absolutely destroy the competition? Because if you don't have that ability, it's very hard to be an entrepreneur.
Let's get the entrepreneurs in on this conversation. If you can raise your hands, I'll get a microphone across to you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Devita Saraf. I'm the CEO of View Technologies.
Wow.
And
Great.
I just want to say it's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's my honor.
I have been reading Ivanka's book, and she's the same age as me. And my father is actually one of India's greatest tech entrepreneurs. And when I was reading her book, I realized the relation she has with you is very similar, how she's thrived under you. So I actually have a question. What do you think you have learned from your children and their generation, or even something that you may have learned from the young people that you have on The Apprentice?
I've learned nothing from them, to be honest. But I'm going to reverse the question a little bit. First of all, Ivanka's outstanding. She's done an amazing job, as you know, and she's great. She went to the Wharton School. She was a top model. She did fantastically, and one day, boom, she got into the Wharton School of Finance, and she just cut it off like it was nothing, and she's been fantastic. Don is with me today, and he's doing a fantastic job here. So I'm very proud of my kids. But a lot of people ask me, just a reverse question, how did your kids turn out this way? Now, who knows? 10 years from now, maybe I'll be saying, I can't believe. But let me just tell you, what I would do when my children, when they were very young, from the time they could speak, no drugs, I would tell them. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. I'd say it over and over. And Ivanka once looked at me, Dad, you're driving me crazy, every week. And I'd drum it in. And I have a lot of friends who have very talented children. I have a lot of friends who have very untalented children, too. They'll never make it whether they take drugs or not, okay? But I have friends that have very talented children, but they started drinking or they take drugs. They are, and I throw cigarettes in because it's just bad. It's bad for your health. But the drugs and the alcohol, these people, you know, it's a competitive world out there, as you folks know. These people are at a huge disadvantage a huge disadvantage. And so when people ask me, your kids, they're doing well, they're in business, they're making deals. Don is the one, that's really responsible for the deal in Mumbai, and they have such respect to him at Lotto. It's been great. But I tell people, it's such a competitive world, such a hard, that if your kids are taking drugs or alcohol, cigarettes less so, but health. But if they're taking drugs or alcohol, they're a huge disadvantage.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Hi, Mr. Trump. I've
Hi.
had the pleasure of meeting Ivanka, actually, in a nightclub in France.
Whoa. What was she doing there? Maybe I'm wrong about it.
And I also had the pleasure of going to Mar-a-Lago last
That's
year.
great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good.
it was a great place. I'm part of a venture capital fund, and I've also been a tech entrepreneur.
Good.
My question to you is, why India and why now?
Well, I've always respected India greatly. I have many, many friends from India. I have many people from India that live in Trump apartments, mostly in New York. Trump Tower, Trump World Tower, Trump International Hotel, where they live in the buildings. So many, Trump Soho. We have so many buildings where people from India live there. I know so many families, the Hinduja family. I know so many families from, they've lived in Trump Tower for many, many years. They have numerous apartments. They're a fantastic family. I don't know if you like them in the room, but I like them. What can I tell you? They're great people. And I have great respect for people from India, and I have great respect for the country. And I said something before that is interesting. I've watched the political cycles, and I've watched all that's going on with India. I think your prime minister, the new prime minister, has done an excellent job. I don't know him. I've never met him. But I think he's brought people together, because there was a time when people would not want to invest in India not so long ago. I think he's really brought people together. Whether you like him or don't like him, I can tell you this is the outside perception. So I give great credit to your new prime minister. A lot of people have come together, and a lot of people like him.
Mr. Trump, hi. My name is Saket Modi. I run a cybersecurity organization based out of India.
Good.
My question to you is that I've been going through your history, and for me, your entire life history is more like a Hollywood movie. It's like a real life. We all love Frank Underwood doing wrong things, and it's like a part of the master plan. And the way you said you filed bankruptcy, obviously for your own, the right reasons, and of course, clearly you've come out from it like in a brilliant way. And it all adds up. Now, my question is that we work very closely with tech companies, the largest ones, the IBMs and the Ciscos. And the next 5 years will be transformational when you talk about the digital business. So, in infrastructure, right from having intelligent buildings and intelligent towers, it is all going to come up. Now, I'm not going to ask you that what are you looking at and what kind of digital revolution you look at, but next 5 years will definitely be a very big transformation when you talk about business perspective of the real estate. I mean, I believe, not with a lot of experience, but that changes. So how do you look at such a challenge?
It's a hell of a long question. It's good. It's a good question.
Transformation for the real estate business.
I will say this. Look, real estate's different from a lot of other businesses. If I were in the internet business or the computer business, I'd go crazy, because you come up with an idea, the iPhone, you come up with an idea, and 2 days later somebody comes up with a better, it's obsolete. The real estate business is basically an old-fashioned business. It's get the best location, get the best building, make sure you manage it properly, get great tenants. It's never going to change. Now, it can be computerized, and we do all sorts of things environmentally, and we save money on oil, and we save money on this and that, and we fight certain things that we should fight. But the real estate business is a little bit of an old-fashioned business. And I like it because you can touch it, you can feel it. It's there. I own a building. I own Trump Tower on 57th Street and 5th Avenue. I've got the best tenants, including from China. I've got the best tenants. I've got, you can feel it. It's beautiful. I own the old post office, or I own this or that. I own these great buildings all over the world. I own these buildings. They're great. But with, technology, I look at some of these technology companies, and what is it? They come up with an idea. 2 months later, the idea is no good. In the meantime, they've sold their company for $700 million. They're 21 years old, and they can't read or write. Or some of them can read and write very well. But the fact is, the company has no value. I'm looking at some of those deals and some of the mergers where they're buying these companies with. I'm looking at numbers where a company makes no money, and it's worth hundreds of billions and billions of dollars. And it makes no money, and it has no prospect to make any money, but they value it highly. Now, who knows? I like real estate.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Trump, for being here. I'm Pankaj Poddar. I also am an entrepreneur in a business that is associated with real estate.
Good.
What I'd like to know from you is, if I walk out of this room with one piece of advice for an entrepreneur, an early stage entrepreneur, what would that be? Like fundamentally, something that I or any of the entrepreneurs here should keep in mind.
Okay, look, I can give you the stock answer. You got to love what you do, all that stuff. Okay, But one of the answers is, and that I think is very important, is, and especially as an entrepreneur, you have to pick a business that works. Because there are some businesses that are very tough. Now, if you don't like it, cancel that. Because, you may see, oh, gee, I like the oil business is great, which I do like. I love the oil business. I think it's a great business. And I tell people, go into energy, go into oil. I really recommend that strongly because a lot of friends call, would you meet my son or would you meet my daughter and give them some. But you have to love the business. But some people go in, for instance, when I went to school, 2 people. One was really smart, the other one was not so smart. The not so smart one went to work for a big oil company. The really smart one went to work for an airline. Well, let me tell you, the not so smart one is a very rich man today and does very well and heads up a company and he makes money and is in the energy business and the oil and gas business, does great. And the guy running the airline it's tough, but he was smarter. He was smarter, he was tougher, he had everything. He even looked better. Not that that matters. He had everything. He failed, and the other guy is a big success. And there's no contest. So I think to answer your question, pick a business that's good.
Yeah. Donald Trump, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us here on this special show on CNBC TV 18. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.